Hello, welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll look at the big stories for the week and discuss the various angles reported by media outlets across the country. We'll take off quickly and start with a story to do with the death of a student at O'Reilly Senior High School and see how that story was reported. Let's go to the Daily Graph Guide. They say O'Reilly student stabbed to death. The new publisher says SHS 3 student killed in school with knife. Republic Press, O'Reilly student arrested for fatal stabbing of colleague. Let's take you to citynewsroom.com. Father of deceased O'Reilly SHS student threatens to sue school management. And then finally with ChannelOneNews.com, GES commiserates with family of deceased O'Reilly SHS student. We'll move away from that. We'll go to the story around Galamsey and the latest to do with the central region where the Ghana Water Company Limited has warned that it may not be able to provide water for that region because of Galamsey activities. Let's see how that panned out. The Ghanaian Times says water shortage in Cape Coast, Elmina, others. We can't produce supply water. GWL laments as Galamsey activities pollute River Pra. Daily Analyst, Galamsey has moved from ordinary citizens to become a transnational organized crime. Professor Ainin speaking over there. The anchor, pollution of water bodies. Why was river wardens not deployed after recruitment? That's a question being asked. Let me take you to ChannelOneNews.com. Politicians exploiting Galamsey for votes must be sanctioned. Defense Minister Nichiwol speaking over there. And finally, on the Galamsey story, let's take you to citynewsroom.com. Arrest, prosecute financiers of Galamsey to save water bodies. EPA speaking over there. We move away from that. We go to the story about the measure or proposals to merge certain energy or power companies in the country. We start with ChannelOneNews.com. VRA not scared of competition. Measure not necessary. Senior Staff Association speaking there. CityNewsroom.com. We will petition Akufo-Addo over proposed measure with Buipa VRA staff. And finally, MyJoyOnline.com. Proposed measure of VRA BPA is to delink VRA's thermal assets. Ejapa Mesa. Our next story has to do with the discussion around sirens, who qualifies to have that back on the table. So let's see why. The Chronicle, MPs insist on using sirens on our roads. Speaker directs committee to include their concerns in new LI. The Daybreak, new LI stops number 3 MP CJ from siren use. Daily Guide, MPs backtrack on siren speed limit law. And ChannelOneNews.com, Speaker of Parliament CJ excluded from siren privileges in new traffic regulation. And finally on that story, Speaker Chief Justice excluded from siren privileges in new traffic law. That's the angle citynewsroom.com has. We wrap up finally on some politics and Bawumia's plans to tackle cost of living. Quickly, let me tell you what he has been saying. The Chronicle says Bawumia plans to reduce cost of living, food security, transportation, housing and energy on the radar. CityNewsroom.com, Ghana will be better off with NPP in power. Bawumia speaking over there. AsasRadio.com, Bawumia outlines plan to reduce cost of living through food security initiative. And finally on that story, DailyGuideNetwork.com, Bawumia aims to reduce cost of living. So those are the big stories for the week. When I come back, I'll introduce our guests for today. Don't go away. So you're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Today I have in the studio with me Mr. Samuel Tameza, who's also here with us at Channel One TV, as well as City FM. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And then I also have Salam Adonu, also here with us at Channel One TV and City FM. Salam, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
All right, gentlemen, we'll start with a story to do with the death of the student at O'Reilly, if you permit me. I will take the story of citynewsroom.com, which looks at the father of the deceased boy reacting to the issue, threatening to sue the school management. So quickly, Enoch Saki, the father of Edward Bokete Saki, the O'Reilly Senior High School student who was fatally stabbed by a colleague, has vowed to take legal action against the school's management. The incident, which occurred during an argument over whose father was wealthier, has left the school community in shock. According to initial reports, the two students engaged in a heated argument that escalated into a physical confrontation, resulting in the suspect allegedly stabbing the victim 3 times with a sharp object. The victim was rushed to the Lekma hospital by fellow students, but was pronounced dead upon arrival. In an interview with ChannelOne News, Enoch Saki expressed his intention to hold the school responsible for his son's death. So that's a very, very sad one that has everybody talking about discipline in school, what school authorities are expected to do, laws around school issues and all that. Let me start with you, Samantha, because you are the global president of global president of SWESCO, and so you get involved in the issues or the management of Swedu. I mean, if God forbid, if an issue like this happened in Swedu Secondary School, the old students will get involved in the issues that will, pan out around that.
Very much so.
That's the angle I'm coming from in terms of the management, quote and unquote.
Well, it's a sad situation, very tragic, and you have, parents are already struggling to contain this whole cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, this, what's the name again? The father's name, Saki, right?
Yeah, Saki.
You are at work and you have a call, your son, who you believe is in school and is within the confines of the school safety, has been stabbed. I mean, it's such a devastating piece of news, and it's a kind of thing that can happen in any school.
Any school and to anybody.
To anybody, So I'm still trying to process to see whether it's a lack of supervision or, I think for me, what I heard was that when they called for help, some of these teachers were seated around the place and they didn't bother to. That's bad. If that's what happened, that's bad. Yeah. But I would generalize it and say that this indeed can happen in any school. And what actually prompted it actually happens in schools, where people engage in all sorts of arguments, and we've all been through these schools before. But to the extent that one can, draw a knife and stab somebody, that's criminal. That's way overboard. And if you do that, I mean, I'm trying not to, if you like, blame the school for having caused it. On one hand,
they take a part of the blame if really the teachers were sitting
I mean,
there
the buck stops with the headmaster or headmistress. That's a fact. But I'm saying that it's not like one of the things that they were taught to do. It's somebody's misbehavior that has caused it, and students do misbehave. Only that it ended up in if you like, a criminal conduct, and other students should just take a cue out of this, because it could have been anything, but I don't think any of them around expected that it will end this way, which is very, very sad. But the thing about the recourse to suing the school, I think Selom
will take us to whether, the father has a point in saying that he's going to hold the school accountable, go to the courts to get them to decide what to do in this matter?
Well, yeah, he may, but it depends on what information is available to him. I'm sure he'll be mounting a case on negligence, and if it comes to negligence, the relevant elements that the court will be looking out for, what you must prove, is whether indeed you owe the person a duty of care. So does the school owe, or did the school owe the child a duty of care? Was there a breach of that duty of care? And did the breach of the duty of care result in an injury or a loss? It does appear that yes. But in the first years, whether I owe the child a duty of care, yes, the child is in school. So the child should be in the care of the school.
Authorities.
But the school is wide. The court will understand that. If it depends on where they were doing the thing. If they were somewhere and something happened, I think the court or the system will know that the eyes of the school cannot be everywhere, especially in the context of the high numbers in the schools now, etc. So it is not as simple as that. A lot of other considerations must be brought to bear to determine whether the school was negligent or not. If indeed there were teachers there and the thing was happening, they were informed or they saw it and they failed to take action, then that obviously is some negligence, and the school must pay for it. So you know, if they were just under a tree, chatting, shouting, like students do, boys do, and you expect the teachers to know that something is happening when really it didn't show like something this grievous was happening, that's also another matter. So it's a game of evidence. They will have to adduce enough evidence to show that the school indeed was negligent. Okay, and it will be a tall order, even though the father may have public sympathy. But the court deals with law. And so he must be able to come with the hard facts to suggest that the school knew, or the school was not aware, but the school ought to have known that something was happening. So that's what it is. I mean, having said that, it's a very sad or unfortunate situation. Your child is in school, Form 3, they are writing exams. You are hoping that they will finish and come home, you know, and all of that, only to hear that your child is being killed in such should I say, useless fashion. That is very unfortunate. Yeah, these things happen. I mean, we talk about indiscipline over the years growing in our schools. It's difficult really to pin it out to indiscipline alone, but it is indiscipline. It is not to say that this is isolated, because students do engage in arguments. And students, we know, sometimes have knives and even guns in school. Why they do this, I'm not sure. And I think also that over the years, I don't know if it is westernization, I don't know if it is the human rights wave, I don't know what it is, but there's been a growing concern that teachers must not be so much involved in some kind of disciplinary action when it comes to the children. And I think that, to a large extent, is hurting us. Whether I will take it kindly if a teacher lashed my child in school or not is another matter. But I think it's a bigger conversation that we must have. When we were in school, the cane was used in some instances, or in many instances. I know in some instances time it was worse, or it was more serious.
Flashed.
But
is it pre-colonial?
But I think as the years have gone by, there's been
issues of human rights.
The use of the cane and certain disciplinary actions have been de-emphasized. And I think largely this is to blame for some of these things. So for example, you can't repeat a child. I don't know why you cannot repeat a child when the child shows clearly that the child is not doing well. You know, I think
the psychological implications for that child.
You can't do that. You know, so unless the parent agrees. How many parents will agree that their children should
my
be
child?
You know, so it's
that Pepe law will have to come along.
Everybody will have to go through. You know, so sometimes the fear of being repeated.
Then they are enjoying, man.
The fear of being repeated
makes you sit down
and makes you cut out a lot of the unnecessary things. All of these things have been taken away. The PTA, now PA, and all of those things, coupled with the increasing numbers because of the increased access, etc. and maybe the lack of corresponding growth in the number of teachers, etc., are also, it's a number of factors, really. It's a number of
Do you
factors that I
believe some
think.
of the new reforms are hurting discipline?
Yes, and the reforms, a lot of the reforms have been global. But I think that we must look at our particular context and fashion out a system that works for us. The use of the cane, yes, we can talk about it.
But if in certain countries the non-use of the cane is working for them,
You see,
I mean, it should be able to work for us.
those countries are different, okay? The context may be different. They may have other things that we do not have, okay? So, for example, in a country where everything is fine, the average child may not necessarily, for example, go and steal money from somebody's bag because, you know, there are systems in place to help you get money if you need it. We may not necessarily have that. So if you go and take, you know, wholesale, everything done in that particular system and import it into yours without dealing with the other issues that the people have dealt with, then I'm not sure you are doing yourself
We
any
should
good.
tweak it to suit
Exactly, and we are different people. That we have our cultural backgrounds and a lot of things are different. You don't take something wholesale and then impose it or superimpose it on your system and expect it to work like the way it's working for other people. Our culture is different. Somewhere else, somebody can tell that, you know, are you out of your mind? But you can't really say so in our system.
No,
If you said so, you know, you may have issues.
You can
Okay.
say that in exchange for some slaps, man.
You know, so will you say that in those areas, children are allowed to express themselves? So they express themselves to their parents that way, nothing happened. So it should be so here. And are we happy really about how we see kids behave outside? Somebody may take a gun, go to a school, shoot everybody. You know, do we like that? So when we are talking about the rights and freedoms they have, let us balance that with the excesses they have in their system. And let's ask ourselves if we have the systems to deal with those excesses. They may have the system, but they are even not able to deal with them comprehensively. And we don't really have anything. And we want to take the rights and freedoms and superimpose it in our wobbly system. Can we stand it? This is what we are seeing. You know, so I think we need a proper holistic conversation about education. And that review or that holistic conversation must not leave out the subject of discipline. Sometimes we are just focused on the academics, but the discipline is very important. That is what will build the nation really tomorrow. We cannot afford to have these. And I'm not saying that in the past these things didn't happen. Of course, worse things have happened.
Yeah.
But the rate at which we are seeing these things, students ganking up, beating teachers, a whole lot. Was it last year or so we spoke about this school? Where you know, all of these things, we need to find a way of dealing with them. And that conversation, I think, must be had. And we must have it dispassionately. These days, when you are talking about secondary education, for example, it becomes a bit political because of the issues surrounding it. But I think we need to dispassionately deal with the subject of the numbers, the number of supervisors to take care of the kids, you know, and the subject of discipline. The children should not feel so pampered or so entitled that if you want to discipline them, then they think that, no. And we must have that conversation, else we are not doing enough.
But in this case, we are told the school in question, you know, there are a lot of issues, especially infrastructure, the numbers, and the teachers. The school itself is open to the public. People come and go as and when. They don't have enough, you know, dormitories. There's so many things happening. Couldn't that be one of the reasons why, you know, the issue of discipline is gone down?
You know, it's part of it. It's not a one issue. It's part of it. In this school, one of the best schools in the country, one of the most well-equipped schools in the country, we saw the thing that happened. If somebody had a knife or a gun, somebody could have used it. So the subject of indiscipline is all over. But I'm saying that let's deal with the issues comprehensively. So the numbers you mentioned, the infrastructure, the school, should we say that every secondary school must be walled, or they should be within a certain fence? Do we have to say that? If that is the case, let's do it. You know, there are a number of important things we must ensure that we have. And I think we have the resources to do it. If only we will prioritize properly, we have the resources to do it. What does it take in walling a school? Will it take, what does it even take in engaging the PTA? When I was in school, when I got into Form 1, we got a new school bus. I didn't really contribute to the school bus, but my seniors years before had contributed. That is PTA. PTA, because they paid in school fees.
Right?
Like us.
You see, people contribute. So if
We went to the same school.
Olaboni.
Yes. So Samet and Co contributed, bought the bus, and we came to enjoy. That's what it is. You know, so for example, I don't think it would be out of place for you to say, let's say, every year, students pay 20 cedis or parents pay 20 cedis as part of a certain fees for a certain number of years. We'll use that money to fence the school. We should be also
I know the old students
children.
were doing something like that because weeks ago they had reached out to us that they were getting money to start some donations to, you know, read.
Yeah, but you see, those proceeds are slow in coming because they are voluntary. And how many? I mean, and if the school is not fortunate to have a lot of old students in big places, then they will struggle. And the school in question, I mean, they are I think one of their most prominent old students is Caleb.
No, there are a lot of prominent people from Raleigh.
I'm not saying the only. I said one of them. One of them.
I get. But there are a lot
I mean, he's in the public space. He does advocacy. He went to the school to file the report. I mean, he's doing well for the
when
school.
they happen, I said, Caleb, you will go.
Okay,
That's your
so thanks to you too. You know, so I think we must we must deal with the issues comprehensively.
O'Reilly Secondary School finds itself in a very unfortunate situation. In the last, say, 20 years, they've been just journeying from
unstable.
Their former place at YWCA in Adabraka, you know, where they were kicked out, evicted, and had to relocate to some place close to Teshi. So I can understand the frustration of even the managers of the school. But you see, it wouldn't be an isolated case for some of the secondary schools, even the older ones. I mean, my school, Swedu Secondary School, up to now, we have not been able to wall the entire school, which is a project that we are undertaking now, you know, and it's huge. But it's important that we're able to contain, use physical structures to, if you like, protect the kids as they're in school.
From the outside,
because you can't be home, send your child to school, and they're exposed to all sorts of things. I mean, at times you see animals grazing, walking across the school, and all sorts of things. I mean, if we want to do it, we must do it well. The case of O'Reilly is look, but what I was going to say is that, look, what happened has nothing to do with whether the school was walled or not. Because the school could have been walled and the argument would have happened. You know. But Selom talked about discipline. And I don't want to, if like, summarize discipline as caning alone. You know, there are rules and regulations that should be applied, okay? It could be caning, it may well not be caning. You understand? In some universities, they don't cane, but there's discipline, there are rules. Okay, so how we enforce the rules. And I was shocked to hear, you know, I have this adopted daughter in one of the secondary schools. And then she said when I'm coming to visit her, I should bring her a knife.
Hey, how are you going to use it for?
Yes. So I said, but what do you need a knife for? He said, oh, everybody has knife, and I always have to take somebody's own. I said, for what? He said, we use it to cut vegetables.
Vegetables?
I said, vegetables for what? He said, at times the food in the dining hall is some way. So we buy tomatoes, we buy all these things, and we cut and mix it. And I'm asking, why should you be allowing students to hold knives? So if you allow them to hold knives, they'll use them. This is what happens. If you allow them to take petrol into the dormitories, you know what you are calling for. So there are some basic things that we should enforce, just enforce, and make sure that they are students, they are under your care. You may not be at the point where they were doing the argument, and so that one nobody can blame you. But if you had succeeded in stopping them from holding whatever implement the boy was holding, somebody was telling me that.
In some cases, they say it's a scissor, some too say it's a knife, some say it's a sharp object. We don't know which is
Well, it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. This should never happen again.
You were saying somebody was telling you, and I cut into you, sorry. You're saying it's going to land on something, and I can't feel.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Let's say human rights angle. Let me deal with that. You know, it's for good reason that sometimes the law makes certain considerations. So, for example, the Children's Act and the Juvenile Justice Act both talk about what we call the welfare principle, that in any consideration involving a child or a juvenile, the best interest of the child must be what is considered. Okay, so the question, so we speak about dismissing students, we speak about repeating students, we speak about many things. The question is, that particular action you want to take, you may call it disciplinary or not, is it in the best interest of the child? And we must come to that point. And I also say so knowing that there are times people are very bad when they are young, but when they are given a second chance, they turn out to be very good. And many of our leaders and many of the people we see in society and respect today, when they tell you about their past and the things they did in school, you'll be surprised. But they were given a second chance. But so I'm making a very delicate point. So this is me in one instance going so hard on the issue of discipline. And this is me again saying that the best interest of the child must be considered. So it's a very delicate balance we must make. The fact that, you know, the best interest of the child is what must be considered doesn't mean that a child who is obviously a danger to other people should be allowed to stay in the school. It is a very comprehensive assessment we must make so that when the gavel drops, you know, very few people will have negative things to say. We also owe a duty to the other students so that they are protected, and their parents as well, so that when I take my child to school, I can be home knowing that my child is in good hands. It's very important. The other point I want to quickly touch on is the legal system or the criminal justice system when it comes to children. So in this case, I don't know how old they are.
18.
Oh, they are 18.
So they're out of that,
once they are 18, then they are out of that. Because if they were not 18, then the discussion changes entirely. But once they are 18, too bad for them, then they've crossed the line and they'll be dealt with as adults.
Right. I want us to move to our second topic having to do with Galamsey, but I'll take a quick break. When I come back, we'll play a clip of how it's looking like in some of the regions. Stay with us. You're welcome back to What the Papers Are Saying. Thank you for staying with us. Now we'll continue with the discussions to do with Galamsey. The latest we have is the Ghana Water Company Limited warning that areas in the central region may not have water because of Galamsey activities in that region. But I'm going to take you to the eastern region where there are similar concerns. We're told today that the Greater Accra region in the coming weeks may also suffer similar fate. Our Eastern Regional correspondent went around his region and found this report.
The Densu, which takes its source from the Yetiwa forest, is currently only the reliable source of water for inhabitants dotted along the Densu Basin. It also serves as one of the main sources of water for the Ghana Water Company Limited for treatment and distribution to residents in Koforidia and its environs. Similarly, the Densu River flows along its course, meandering through to Nsawam and ends up in the Weija Dam in Accra. River Densu alone serves the Weija Reservoir for the Ghana Water Company Limited supplies within Accra South, which means almost 2 million Ghanaians, with the inclusion of communities upstream, rely on the River Densu. But for close to a month now, there have been intense mining activities right in the middle of the river. When we got to one of the sites at Potrase, several excavators were seen mining inside the river. The illegal miners have encroached on the buffer zones of the river right from Apeja, Odumase, Oruachum, Potrase and Akwadum, diverting the course of the river and busily mining. They engage in this illegality day and night without fear, a situation which has left residents, farmers, and other concerned members of the community troubled. This is Apeja Junction, and as you can see right behind me, Apeja is just some few meters away from Potrase, where the illegal mining activity is going on. Now, the area is predominantly made of farmers here, and as you can see right behind me, these traders are selling goods right from these farms where the illegal miners are also operating. Now, the main rivers, they are polluting. That is the Brim and then the Densu, which is in focus today, happens to be the very source of water that the farmers use to spray their farm produce. We'll talk to some of these traders here and find out if they are worried and concerned about it.
Almost say nsuo ma yen papa. Nsuo de ne ebe no mu kra edin ya ntop pure water ye no mu nsuo. Form nsuo kra de ensan fa nya hwe. Ji se pure water and as a pipe no edu tore bi kra okobu a eni nya fe. Eno kra da ho na waka. Nti esere o mu Galamsey fo no mu hwe na mu nya bibi mfa ho ma yen.
Koko no o makọ tri koko ni nyina gu ama me ni nim ho hwie o. Ama mo tu Galamsey enne maame no yo ne ne ma be di kra edin. Enti ama wias ne ekoso wo sakro ni so na anu.
So those are some troubling sights and sounds from the eastern region around the Densu River. We're told that that river is a source of water for the Wager Dam. So Greater Accra, you're also going to be hit with some water shortage soon because of Galamsey activities. Let me start with you, Samens. You know these areas that he's talking about, very familiar with that, and I'm sure you knew how the Pra River looked like before.
That's Densu.
Oh, sorry, the Densu River looked like before we got to this point.
Yeah, I am familiar with the. I'm actually particularly familiar with the Birim River and the Densu River. Okay. Yes, I am.
How does this latest development hit you?
Well, it was always going to come to this, Vivian. It was always going to come to this, and this is, if you like, the tip of the iceberg, because it will really get worse before, if it will ever get better, we start seeing something, you know, encouraging. This is just a symptom of the real problem, because it's a problem that has existed with us in the last 15 to 20 years, which has not been dealt with. And so these outcomes that we see affecting water security, I mean, a year, 2 years ago, we held a round table here with the water people who in the water space. And they told us that this was going to happen. The MD of Ghana Water was part of the panelists. Right. And he said that this is where we are, and in a year or two, this is what was going to happen. And we have a minister in charge of water resources and sanitation. Is that correct? Right. And I say that is the most redundant ministry, in addition to environment ministry, Bola ministries. They haven't done anything. As far as this Galamsey is concerned, they have been completely useless.
Are they not helpful?
I do not think that you are a minister who has occupied any position in environment, any position to water, and what's it, lands.
Lands, yeah.
10 years from now, when you are no more in government or in politics, when we show you pictures of what you superintended over, you yourself, you'll be proud of it. You have failed at it. There's no other way to talk about this thing.
Is the problem not beyond them?
The problem beyond them means what?
They're helpless. They can't
I mean, if you're helpless, tell the whole world that I'm helpless and leave the position. Because if you're helpless, you think you cannot do it, resign and stop wasting our time. Because you see, what I'm saying is that we have not punished people enough to ward people off this Galamsey. Rather, we are trying to advise people and if you like, counsel people, or they should be careful when you are doing Galamsey. And we've been doing this thing for the last 8-9 years, and this is what is giving us. And you want to convince me that you are doing something about Galamsey? No, we haven't done anything about Galamsey. We have done practically nothing about Galamsey. Why? This whole thing of we are trying to do small scale, helping people to do better ways of if people don't get punished for because we have laws. We do have laws against what they are doing, polluting our waters, even laws against polluting specific areas forest reserves.
Forest reserves,
We have
yeah.
laws.
Yeah.
Now, nobody ever gets punished. You see, that's my problem. Now, if we are serious about punishing people for doing the wrong thing, we wouldn't have gotten to this point.
Why do you think they are failing to implement the law?
Because we are all in a place of compromise. We have all been compromised. The politicians have been compromised. The chiefs largely have been compromised. Stakeholders, community leaders have been compromised. So we are all compromised.
Can we ever rectify that?
Well, it takes one person with the B to be able to rectify this. It would take one person. I won't say that we can never. We can. Because isn't Otunfo one human being? Isn't Otunfo
And he's taking
who
action.
has not been vested with the laws of this land?
Yeah.
He's just using traditional governance laws.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, customary law.
Customary law. And he has been able to exact punishment. Of course, he can't imprison people. I'm sure if Otunfo had the law backed him to imprison, he would have jailed plenty people. The man is sitting there. Every day you people go and greet him. You go and give him fans. And the man is showing you how to lead. And you are not picking lessons from him. Otunfo, when they come, throw them away. Don't let anybody come to your place and waste your time. But Charlie, this Galamsey thing, if we don't stop it, and I was saying, see the two, last week there was some video trending about two journalists. There's a guy with a beard, a free fire or something, it's a free fire.
They arrested somebody,
You see, now this is like citizens arrest, okay? And they are known people, and they conducted this, and guess what? They filmed themselves. Do you know the risk that they are putting themselves into? Now, these Galamsey people who are armed to the teeth, hiding in bushes, what if they go after these guys? What if they go after these guys?
So dangerous.
The police is helpless. The police is completely helpless. Look, we had military people go into the thing, and then politicians had to fight and withdraw the military people. If we really, really, really want to do this work, let's give the military people a blank check and tell them to go and do the work. Give us 1 week, whether anybody will enter the water. They will give you some slap and let you drink the water yourself. And then they will say that the human rights. But what you are doing is not against human rights. The children who are you see this water that they show, people are drinking the water.
This is what
People are drinking like this.
Yeah.
And they catch the fish there. What is this? Why? And as we are talking now, you have some politicians who think they know people. They are always criticizing us. You think that the Ghana is for you. You came and you will leave. You will be there.
Yeah, I think Samuel is on a roll.
Yeah.
The crisis is hitting home. Was it last week we heard Ghana Water Company Limited say they were struggling in the western and central regions, that the turbidity levels of the water, River Pra, is reached 12,000 NTU when the machines they have were built to treat water highest at 2,000 turbidity level. So 12,000 now, but the machines were built for 2,000 NTU in terms of the turbidity. And then they have to refine or treat the water to 5 NTU. So they are struggling. The waters have been silted. So they are unable to produce or treat enough water for people in those areas to drink. And so they have to ration water. Already they ration water. The crisis is making the water rationing grow, and that's a problem. That's water. Water is life. So what the guys are doing really is they are poisoning the mass or the drinking water for the masses. That is tantamount to murder. That's mass murder. Number two, we see the effect of the activities on cocoa. The yield of cocoa, together with many other factors, presently is one of the lowest in recent times. So cocoa, which is a mainstay of our economy, is also having to struggle because of the activities of Galamseyers.
Yeah.
And we don't seem to have a handle over it. They even road construction. We heard sometime last week or 2 weeks ago that the Accra Konongo Road, the contractors they were complaining because they say people have dug under the road or very close to the road.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. So what is happening is that it does appear that almost every facet of our lives, you know, the issue of Galamsey is eating to us. In fact, the water bodies have been...
Please hold your thoughts. You know that Accra Konongo Road. You know the the ugliest scene of that one is when they stopped them. The day they went to stop them, the Galamsey people were fighting the authorities.
It's impunity.
They were, when they move, they come, you know. And as we speak now, nobody has been jailed.
You see, it's impunity.
Or even arrested.
And you see,
Nobody has been arrested.
Yeah.
So you know what will happen? They'll just leave because that there was a town center. You know, Konongo is not too big. The forest part of Konongo, Selom, is really huge. They will move from the town and to the forest. Nothing will happen to them. Nothing will happen to them.
So you see, that's a lot of impunity. And you see, people do such things because sometimes they have backing. If they were ordinary guys, area boys, they will not be able to muster the courage to confront authorities. But it's because they have huge people behind them telling them that go and do it. We won't do anything. Even if they arrest you, we will come and get you freed. That is what it is. All right? Because it doesn't make sense to me that people are committing crime. Authorities have come to sack them, not even arrest them, sack them, and they are rather fighting the authorities. And to date, nobody has been arrested. And the thing they do is that when we shout, and they want to do something, they go and arrest the area boys and try to jail them. But the area boys, they are boys who have bigger people behind them, who just go and do that. So how about you look for the people who sent them and deal with those people? To date, the issue about the Akunta mine in the forest reserves in the western region, etc. Akunta mines is owned by Wontumi. It is nobody is dealing with it because the guy is too big to be dealt with. Everybody is afraid. So until we start the Frimpong Boateng report, what have we done about it? Nothing much. You know, Frimpong Boateng, nothing much. So until we start dealing with things like that, we'll be jokers if we are talking about it. I've seen the manifestos of the two parties and their plan to fight Galamsey. It's a joke. It's that they were just, somebody woke up and somebody was just writing. Somebody was just, geological services, a gold board. I mean, like somebody was just writing. There is no real urgency in that. So I'm afraid this may have to continue. And I'm so disappointed about the Densu one because I think a couple of days ago, I heard that the Volta River and the Densu and maybe one other source are those which generally have not been polluted. And so seeing the Densu, this way, it's so painful. And what will happen is that it is not bringing it home. A lot of people in Accra do not know the problem in other parts of the country. So when they begin to see the Densu and the water that comes to their homes, polluted that way, and Ghana Water begins shutting. Indeed, one of the stations in Ashanti region, the water treatment plants, or Dasu or whatever, the guy says in a matter of weeks, they will shut down because they cannot continue that way. The turbidity levels have grown, have increased that their machines are not able to treat them. So we are at a crisis point, and something drastic has to be done. But it's unfortunate that we are not seeing the action. And I heard the guys in Parliament yesterday, very disgraceful, very, very disgraceful. And they had no shame in blaming themselves that in your time, Galamsey was worse than it is today. You know, it is so shameful. You have been put there.
They say you polluted more.
You polluted more than me. So that's an admission. That's an admission that I'm also polluting. That's an admission. And we are happy. We are happy. And you see, and the speaker said something that you guys stop it. You guys should stop taking campaign funds from them. Stop taking support from them for your campaigns. If you stop and you make them know that you will not countenance it, they will stop or they will reduce it, knowing that the guys are in for us. But if you go and support them, you go and help them, they bring you money, or you tell them when I come you do more, or you just go and do it, bring me money. It won't continue. It will continue because they know that they have support. Go and arrest any of them. Tomorrow you start getting calls that this guy is our guy, he's our boy, just and it will continue.
But isn't that what it is? So they don't want to stop getting the money.
No, but it's an existential threat. We have to solve it. We have to solve it.
It's an embarrassment. It is an embarrassment. And look, Nana Akufo-Addo, you have 3 months to finish your course, finish your race. If there's one thing that you can turn around that will feed into your legacy, then it's the solution to this Galamsey menace. And I think that if it's possible to declare a state of emergency in some of these Galamsey areas and hand over full time to the military to deal with this Galamsey, let's give ourselves 4 years and say nobody should touch our waters. How difficult is that? Because guess what? You are going to, everything you are losing now, everything you think you are gaining now through Galamsey, you are going to lose it in importing medicines because children are suffering. Women are suffering. Men are suffering. Schoolgirls are suffering.
Area boys are suffering. Area girls are suffering. Everybody is suffering.
And it's serious. What we saw in Konongo, Vivian, it's so sad.
Pathetic.
That look, that's the Accra Kumasi stretch. You can see people digging broad daylight. And nobody has been arrested.
Yeah.
And they are still discussing it. Ghana.
It's because there are bigger names behind. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the bigger names, don't they know that as for Galamsey, I am telling you, it's nothing new as in the whole practice of Galamsey. It's been there. You understand? But now that the Galamsey is now poisoning us, and the risk that it poses to our water, drinking water. Charlie, I haven't seen this thing on before. The leadership is zero, completely nothing.
And I mean, your call on the president to 3 months to this election. I'm sorry, but I don't know. You know, Otumfo trying to distool these people, etc. What are the criminal agencies doing? If this man is distooled somebody, can we understand what the people did before they were distooled? Can we investigate it? If really there's a matter there, then we prosecute them so that it serves as a deterrent to the people. I mean, chiefs could be jailed. Can we begin to do things like that?
Right after
but if Otumfo said if you misbehave, I'll cause your arrest.
Yeah.
So you, the law enforcement agency, doesn't it give you a cue that this is a candidate for arrest?
Yeah.
And then you go to sleep, and then you come and advise media that media you are not helping. What media do you help? Do you pay our rent for us? Media people. Which media people? We all went to the same schools.
2017 up to 2018 or 19, we dedicated huge resources to this fight.
Everything.
Dedicated huge resources to this.
We're even on the streets sharing flyers against Galamsey.
We have useless phone calls. People will call you and say, "Hey, Munsro, hey, you people, you are not afraid." You have to keep quiet and be careful. The Ghanaians, after you do things like this, they will call you and tell you that, hey, no, don't touch it. Leave it like that for the politicians. Because as for the politicians, when they were born from their mother's womb, they had the Ghana map in their head already. So they own Ghana. We were not part of Ghana. We will say it.
There are a lot of messages coming. I think I have to read them before we have a few minutes to go. Mousy from the Volta region says, good evening, Mr. Samens, Mr. Solom, and Madam Vivian. Illegal mining or Galamsey poses a serious threat to Ghana's environment and economy. To curb this issue, strict enforcement of existing laws is essential. Politicians must not support or turn a blind eye to illegal activities. This one from Benjamin says, good evening, I'm a teacher in a basic school, but my wife works as a school nurse in one of the SHS in the Eastern region. Sincerely, discipline has indeed diminished in our SHS. Take time and investigate school nurses, housemasters, and I'm sure you won't like what they tell you. This is from Na. She says, please, these Galamseyers say they have no jobs. I thought we were doing planting for food and jobs. Can't these people farm on the land they are destroying for jobs? Corporates should be made to replant cocoa. She said the corporates should be made to replant cocoa they have destroyed for a number of years as punishment, or farm for a number of years to feed the country. This is from Charles. He says the issue of carrying weapons to school is even at the primary school. The teachers' hands are tied behind them. Even in the classroom, some children do not take lessons seriously. At one time, I had to call in the police patrol team to rescue a student. A teacher of a basic school died a few months ago. He battled issues from attacks from students. Wow. This one from Bernard in Ejisu. He says, thanks so much to your panel for the wonderful discussion. I think the teachers in O'Reilly Senior High School didn't take safety precautions. This is because the Ghana Education Service and Ministry of Education has taken away all the discipline measures from the teachers. Okay. This from Shika says, what has happened to I have put my presidency on the line for the fight against Galamsey. The government must crack the whip because, okay. This from Ni in Bachona. He says, the incident that happened in O'Reilly SHS has an issue that I have been stressing always. That is first aid. In Ghana, there is no educational institution that teaches first aid. When it comes to the subject of first aid, we are largely illiterate. So I'll take this final one. It says, my name is Samuel from Kede. It's about the PTA. Ghana rose up to strengthen the downside of the level of discipline in our schools and especially our SHS. Teachers now fear to punish or correct insubordination acts of students. You do that at your own peril. So a lot of messages coming in. I can't take all of them, but thank you for sending them. I'll take your final words, gentlemen. We have just 30 seconds.
This is a country that has spent millions of cedis to deal with the swollen shoot disease against cocoa.
Cocoa, yeah.
You should check how much we spent on swollen shoot in the last 5 years just to preserve our cocoa farms. Yeah. We have spent millions to ward off locusts dealing with our farms, only to open our arms wide and welcome Galamsey to come and wipe off everything. And nobody is losing sleep over this Galamsey. In fact, that's my fear.
Yeah.
If the politicians insist that indeed they are losing sleep, then it's a different sleep they are talking about. And I call the Lands Ministry, in fact, the Minister of Lands, the Minister of Sanitation, Water and Sanitation, and the Minister of Environment. I say these three ministries, the ministers should resign or they should throw them away because they are wasting our time. They are just wasting our time.
I will add the Ministry of National Security because the water is a security matter. I think, again, I reiterate the point that nobody is able to arrest them because the guys to do the arrest and the guys to call for the arrest are involved.
Compromise.
You know, so until we look for the big guys and punish the big guys, we'll be joking. These guys are just, yeah, it's good to punish them. At some point, we're made to believe that Aisha One was like the kingpin or the queenpin. She's been jailed. Is the thing not even deepening? It means that there are other people. And we try to hang everything around Aisha One's head. She's no more there, but the system is still working. Yeah. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's arrest some big names. Let's make example of them. And I'm sure that the fight will be good.
All right, thank you very much.
Time is up. Let me say this. Believe me that even for the Ghana Water, being a government agency, what we are hearing them tell us is not the full story.
Sure, because they will...
It can't be the full story.
They will censor what they are saying.
I'm telling
because
you,
they are government,
it cannot be the full story.
And so when they are talking, I fear for them, you know. But they are not even telling us everything.
Look at the color of the water. That even the white man that created the machine to clean the water, to treat the water, he actually assumed that those who are going to do it are sensible people. They are not mad people. And that they will not put potoi in the water and make mad water and then use. I mean, what kind of human beings are we? What kind of human beings are we? And then water and this potoi like that. And we say Ghana Water people should go and treat the thing. They treat the thing. First, it used to cost them, say, 100 cedis to treat, say, 1 liter of water. Now, it will cost them 1 million cedis.
And still, we are not acting.
And because somebody says that it's their right to muddy the water. is their right because Galamsey, I don't have a job, so I have to muddy the water. The rest of the problems is your problem. And nobody is worried.
I mean, leadership must act. I mean, I believe in the cause and effect. You know, leadership must act, and everything will also be sorted. It's terrible.
All right. Well, we'll return in a week's time. We'll see whether within the week somebody acts and something changes. But thank you very much, Samantha Mensah and Solomon Donu, both with us here at ChannelOne TV as well as City FM. My name is Vivian Kai Loko. Thank you. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.